Well, here we have a rather interesting little model steam engine. It's a Weeden, number 79, and it's a very old Weeden. They were first introduced in 1910 and they continued production through until about 1930, so this is a very old engine indeed. Sadly, it suffered a bit of damage on its way over the pond due to the completely inadequate packaging of that the seller used, but that's hopefully I can repair that broken foot without too much trouble. The only thing it's missing is there would be a smokestack on here, but everything else is intact. I'm going to have to take it apart because it's got bent in the course of its journey, as I said, because unfortunately it wasn't packed up at all well. But apart from that sort of damage, it's in very, very good condition. You know, all this all seems to work. This all moves and everything. It's a bit stiff, but I think it just needs oiling basically. So yeah, I'm well pleased with it. But I say we will strip it down and, you know, bend everything back into into its correct position, and hopefully give the boiler a little bit of a clean up. I mean, it looks like the firebox could do with a repaint. I don't know whether I'll actually bother to repaint this because the paint is actually in quite reasonable condition. I think it basically, as I said, it just really needs a damn good clean, really. But yeah, a very nice example of a very early Weeden. Well, we had a slight change of plan with the Weeden 79. When I took it apart to start the initial cleaning process, I discovered that the cast iron base and main engine castings had been repainted quite badly. In fact, so badly that I could wipe the paint off with a piece of paper towel and some Windex. So at that point, I decided that I was going to have to take the paint off and repaint it completely. So we've made a start on that. The base, engine casting and flywheel have all been cleaned of the vast majority of the original paint, and they're ready to be repainted. I'm going to have to make a repair to the firebox here, basically, because this bottom piece here, I don't know how well you can see how well it's going to come out on the camera, but this bottom cross piece here is broken away at this end, and it's snapped there as well. So I've got to put some sort of reinforcement along the bottom there. The rest of it seems to be in pretty good condition. I've repaired the leg on the base, and I'll show you how I did that. Basically, it's that leg there. And the method I use for this is one I've done before, which seems to work quite well. I glued it back on using some super glue. Now, that's not going to make a very strong joint, not with cast iron, but it does hold the leg in place. And then I've backfilled it on the back there with some liquid metal. That's liquid metal in there, and that will provide the strength that the leg needs to hold any weight. And that seems to have worked out quite well. So the next up is, what I'm hoping to do today is to get some etch primer on the base and the engine casting, main engine casting, and the flywheel. So that's today's job. Well, here are all the component parts which have been cleaned and, where necessary, repainted or polished. And it's all come up quite nicely, so it's now time to put it all back together and see whether we can get this to run. Well, here's the Weeden 79, all finished. It's turned out quite nicely, actually. I'm quite pleased with the way it's all come together. The repair on the base on the foot, that worked out okay so far. And now it's all back together, we can demonstrate the rather unique burner that the 79 has, which is this so-called safety lamp, which is actually riveted to the door and hinged. So that's quite an interesting and nice feature.
I put new wicks in. There was a wick missing, and the one that was in there was not in particularly good shape at all. Yeah, the only thing really missing now is the smokestack, which I might have a go at making one. They're a little bit complicated on this one because the smokestack has the spark arrestor chimney top on it, which is an added bit extra, and they're kind of like blued tin plate. So yes, I'm going to have a go at making one, but for now, it's pretty much done. Now we've got to see whether it will actually steam. Oh yeah, and for those who are interested in such things, if the paint that I used on the actual base and engine castings is Halford's Ford Burgundy Red. And for those of you who are watching outside of the UK, Halford's is a motor vehicle accessories chain, and they sell quite a range of acrylic paints, which sometimes you can get some pretty good colour matches from their paints, so that's what the colour is. Right, let's try and get this thing steamed. Well, I think we've got enough steam pressure, let's give it a go. Yes, we're off. The Weeden number 79 under steam for the first time since it's been put back together. Got quite a leak from the sight glass, but other than that, we're there, it's running. Let's get this rag out of the way. Not particularly fast, but it is running. I think the actual, the eccentric definitely needs looking at. It's catching, I think. So maybe slightly bent out of true. But it is running. Yeah, it turns out there's a nut that holds this whole assembly together, and that had come loose, and that's what was catching, and that was why it was failing to run. The other thing you have to be very careful with on this is not overfilling the boiler, because it tends to bubble out and roll down the sides and put the burners out. Not useful. But we got there in the end. Just required a bit of fiddling, but that's what all these little engines are all about. Little bits of fiddling. You have to do that just to get them to run. So well, that's running like a trooper now. A little bit of wobble on the flywheel there, but nothing too bad. Right, well I'm going to stop it because it's running this way at the moment, because it should run equally well in the other direction. There we go. The beauties of a slip eccentric. Well, I'm pleased with that. It's taken me a couple of hours this afternoon fiddling around with it, but we got there in the end. And it is a lovely little engine, and as I said, very unusual with that burner configuration. I don't know if we've got any whistle. No, just water coming out the whistle. Oh well. As I said, I think I've slightly overfilled the boiler on this. The sight glass is not easy at all to see or read, it's just tiny, so. Anyway, there we go. Weeden. Oh, look, we've. This is destined to be not much fun for me, is it? It's the pins come out that holds the eccentric, the slip eccentric rod on. So I think we'll call it a day for now. It's determined to mess me around. I'm absolutely not going to let this thing beat me. We now have a new temporary pin, courtesy of a bit of wire locking wire. Holding the slip eccentric rod in. Now that is a lot better. Yes, much better. And we'll spin it the other way. Right, well, finally, we got there after all this time. Well, thanks for your patience and sticking with me on this one. We've had a few little problems, but yeah, well, that's what these things are all about. Anyway, there you go, Weeden 79, under steam, finally running properly, after lots of fiddling. I hope you enjoyed this little video on the Weeden 79. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers!